Very much. Thank you. Alrighty. Having no other speaker slips, I am closing public comments. We move on to the consent calendar. We have the minutes of September 26, 2019, regular city council meeting. List of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2019-20. Acceptance of Village Park.
I would like to move for approval and remove or for discussion.
Okay, so make a motion for items 1 and 2 and
move that we
discuss
approve items 1 and 2 of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Alrighty. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye, thank you. Councilmember King?
Well, I went over this, and I just would like staff to bring us up to speed on, I wasn't on council at the time, so how this was presented to the council. The developer apparently was supposed to build this park as part of that agreement that we had with the developer, and my question is why is now the city paying $151,000 for that?
So I was also not here at the time that these agreements were made, but from what I could gather, there was 2 instances that council had added, budgeted for to contribute to the park based upon several shortfalls that the developers were coming up with in terms of some of the site amenities on the park. And so the council had agreed to allocate some funds to cover some of those shortfalls. And so there were 2 instances in which that happened. One, I believe, was for $95,000, and the other was for $56,000, for a total of $151,000.
I believe the gazebo was one of them.
There were several
Do you remember the other one?
items that
Yeah.
were particularly
Yeah.
called out as, for needing the funds because the cost estimates went above what they had originally anticipated. And it was, I believe, gazebo, restroom building, and some of the playground equipment.
So I have a follow-up question to that, was who was responsible per the agreement of the village-specific plan to develop this in the first place?
That would have
Was it
been
one developer or
the
more
original developer of the specific plan.
Do you know the agreement?
I do not.
Okay. Yeah, the village specific plan was created in 2007, which called for the 1.8 acre park. That was before you and I were on council way back when. And as this thing got dragged out, thank goodness Gavin Moore's volunteered to take over from the original developer, because goodness knows, when it would have been completed. But costs had certainly gone up during that time period. Council wanted it done. We'd made a commitment for a certain amount of money, but the money had increased by that much money. And I know that Gavin's put some money in too. Gavin, you're here. Did you want to get up and
Smooth out the rough edges.
speak on the subject?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Sierra, fellow council members, my name's Gavin Moores. I am the developer of the Vineyard Village project. I am not associated with the Miller Company who did the original development, which is on the Oak Springs Village. That was developed by the Miller family through the entitlement process. The actual aspect of doing the development work or the infrastructure, the streets, was they devised a means by which there was a cost-sharing agreement, which the parties who ended up buying the hotel site, the condominium site, which was us, the senior housing site, also the shopping centre in the front, contributed a percentage amount of the overall budget for those improvements. Those improvements included Highway 246 infrastructure, drainage, new utility lines and services that came in from the south side of McMurray across 246 and up McMurray Street. The original budget was $1 million. It's now at 2.8. The park was originally budgeted for the $400,000, then it went up to $560,000. I came in to finish it off because we had homeowners who we had made agreements with that we will, or representations that there would be a park there, and they were obviously getting pretty agitated. The previous party that was doing the park was no longer in existence in this area, so we finished the park off, and currently the budget is at $940,000. So the aspects of which Councilmember King inquired about, I have a little bit of history. I can't say that this is certain, but I have a pretty good understanding of the scope. First of all, any project is normally associated Quimby fees, which either goes towards public park. When you actually provide a park, you don't pay the Quimby fees, you actually provide the park. From the development standpoint, where we are today, it would have been much better if everybody had paid the Quimby fees and not incurred the cost of building the park. In the discussions, which I was not present, but I've done a fair amount of research and established that the gazebo was to be added. Now, when you add the gazebo, you add the concrete that goes around the gazebo, you add the electricity that goes to the gazebo. Then there was a swing set, which included over-Xing, providing additional drainage underneath where the play area is, soft fall equipment, additional curbing, the play equipment itself, and then there was other stuff, benches and picnic areas, etc. There was also, and this will require a little bit of research, there was also at that point in time, when we were going through approval, the discussion of the undergrounding of the utility lines that were in the back of the homes that went along Thumbelina. And it was determined at that time from City Council that public funds could not be used for specific improvements to an individual's house, which would have meant to underground those power lines, to go ahead and upgrade meters, etc. And so, in response to that, the City Council and the developers agreed to offer additional funds to further improve the park. That's about as much as I know. I spoke to Ms. Kiefer this afternoon, and I'm kind of piggy in the middle in this, in the sense that I don't own the property. We've put out most of the money to build the park, and I obviously, as such, have a vested interest in doing what I can to receive the remuneration for that. And the person that owns the park is not agreeing with some of the language in the resolutions that were made at that point in time. Ironically, this all kind of boils down to about $38,000. I'm just throwing out my thoughts on this. I think in the public interest, I get calls on pretty much every day now of people being able to use the park. I don't know, and I'm not a lawyer, if legal counsel can agree to work out I think it's going to take about 3 days to figure it out, quite honestly, between the original developers and the city. I'm happy to participate in that. And then the other component is there is concern about, the proposal was made that the reimbursement funds that would come from the city would go to the Miller family. My concern with that is I'm the one that's paid out 88% of those costs, and so then I would like to, my goal is to speak to the Miller family and to say whatever funds you get from the city need to come to me first. So a little bit of a hop-scopping around on the historical background, but that's pretty much as I can tell you from my experience, unless I've missed anything, Andrea.
No, that's pretty much what we...
Okay.
So you basically inherited this.
I came in to do the cleanup. You know, I love the movie Pulp Fiction, where they call the Fox guy in to come and do his particular cleanup. I feel that's been me in this situation, where there's been a park that's been abandoned for a year. I made the representation. Somebody's got to come in and finish it. Somebody needs to do that, so that's kind of what we did.
And I have to tell you, I was given a tour of the park today, and it is beautiful. It really is.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big asset to our community.
I think it's worked out really well, and the trails that we looked at around Brilliant Village are just, that project we're doing, our last 3 buildings there. It's a big project for the city, and this is a vital component. And it's unfortunate what we have is a vacant lot across the street in the hotel site and a vacant lot next to us, which is supposed to be a senior housing site as well. So I'm trying to figure out ways that we can complete certain aspects of a project that show that forward movement as well. So I'm not appeasing to be a greedy developer by any means. I'm just trying to figure out a solution.
Yeah.
So let me ask our attorney, how can we ensure that these funds go to Mr. Moore rather than the Miller family? Is that possible? Or
With
do they have
respect to
to
that
release
aspect
that?
of it, I think we're going to have to, well, let me give you my overall idea for tonight. Overall idea would be to accept the park contingent on the Public Works Director and City Manager's satisfaction with the total amount of reimbursement and receipt of an agreement as to who that reimbursement will be paid to, as well as the submission of as-built drawings for the park. That way you guys will have taken the action that you need to take. Final execution and acceptance of the deed will be contingent on those two items coming in. And if Mr. Moore is correct, and this is going to take 3 or 4 more days, then by mid-next week, the city will have the deed in hand and can get moving. This won't have to come back to you. So I think, to answer your question directly, I think we need the city manager and perhaps finance director to work through that with the parties, as Mr. Moore said as well.
So we wouldn't have to put it off for another council meeting.
That's correct.
Kyle, you wanted to speak?
Just maybe one other historical piece, because I was present, not at all of the discussions, but as far as the Parks and Recreation Commission recommendation of the final park design plan, and from the original developer, the larger issue was the specific plan required them to create and turn over to the city a basic park. And the commission felt strongly about certain amenities, the gazebo and the play equipment, as being needed to make it more than just picnic tables and grass. And so those amenities and the cost increases due to inflation were the reasons why the city council at that time agreed to earmark those extra funds, because they didn't want to just have a piece of grass. They wanted to have a full park rather than a basic park. So just more history.
Gotcha.
Chapter 2.
If I could just add one thing, I think that the restroom is also included in the additional requirements as well,
Yes.
which was not there at that time. That's it.
And that was a hard-fought
That's
battle.
that's a big
Yeah.
item, yeah. Okay, any other audience? Nope. Council?
I will move to approve item number 3 of the consent calendar with the contingency that the details are worked out by the city manager and our attorney.
Second.
Alrighty. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember King.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Mayor Sierra.
Aye, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Productive.
Gavin.
Thank you very much for all your work.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to presentations? None? Public hearings. Agenda item number 4, ordinance number 19-02, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, amending municipal code Title 19 zoning related to certain commercial cannabis activities. This is an introduction and first reading. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. As the City Council will remember, sometime back, it was actually August 8th, the City Council directed staff to prepare an ordinance amendment for public hearing to amend the city's municipal code to allow for the operation of a cannabis testing and analysis facility within the city limits. Staff has gone about the process of preparing that document. The draft ordinance is in the City Council's packet. We've taken this to the Planning Commission, who recommended that the City Council consider and adopt this ordinance. In essence, the ordinance in front of you this evening does 2 things. The first thing it does is it removes from the list of prohibited activities the cannabis testing and analysis labs. The labs were previously listed under commercial cannabis uses, which are completely prohibited. This ordinance would remove it from that list of prohibited activities. The second thing that it does is that it identifies as a conditionally permitted use these testing and analysis laboratories, but only in the M zone, the industrial zone here within the city, which means that with, in only 2 relatively small areas of the city would these types of facilities be permitted, and only with the approval of a conditional use permit. And with the conditional use permit, the Planning Commission could impose requirements to ensure that there is adequate siting and location of the facility, and that things like odor control be mandated prior to the operation of these facilities. So with that, I'll conclude my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay, before we open it to public, are there any questions? Mr. Wolf?
I'd like, the M zone, are we just talking about Industrial Way, or is it,
There are 2 M zone areas within the city. One is off of Industrial Way. The other area is at the far north end of McMurray.
okay.
By Thomas and
Yes,
Cass
Commerce.
Easy
and-
Commerce,
Street.
Thomas.
Easy.
Commerce,
All of
Thomas,
those,
Easy. Okay.
Beyond Firestone, basically.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. No other questions? Open it up to the public. Seeing nobody in the public, bringing it back to council. Oh, I'm sorry, Peggy. Ms. Brierton, I'm so sorry. Take your time.
I'm filling it out right now.
You just take your time. You've had a
You
busy
can address
day.
afterward.
Thank
Had
you.
a busy day.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I would suggest that maybe that conditional use permit be non-transferable or resubmitted every year or 3 years or whatever, but not just to be there permanently. Suggestion, thank you.
Okay. Okay, council? Is that something that can be put into a CUP?
It can be put into a conditional use permit in the conditions. It's not necessary to put it into the ordinance. The conditional use permit runs with the property, and so the property can be sold. There are licensing issues with the state that would come into play with this as well. But staff would probably always recommend that we have a time limit on a conditional use permit of that nature.
Some never get built.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Any comments, any discussion?
Madam Mayor, there are 2 types of these, there's private and state, correct? Because I know there was some discussion at one of our league
Yes.
meetings that there are some state ones.
There
So
are.
it would be either or, as long as they're licensed by the state.
Yeah, I would assume that they would fall under the same category in our zoning ordinance. The state wouldn't have any sort of exemption from our ordinance, so yes.
So a privately licensed lab is same as if the state wanted to do the same.
They'd have to have a
They're
state
They're both going to have the
license,
state
They both would have to have the
license.
same proof.
One would be owned by the state, one would be owned by a private. They would be essentially the same under ordinance.
yeah.
Would
Okay.
it move to approve that, or is it?
Well, it's an introduction, first reading, wait, second,
first.
yeah.
It's just that the motion would actually be on page 49 of the packet, overall page 3 here, just under this staff recommendation.
Right. So you want to move to approve by title only and waive further reading?
Or just read it.
That's my
Yeah, that
motion.
was-
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Second.
Go ahead. Pick one.
Who's the second?
John.
Okay.
No.
I would let John, that's fine.
All right. Mayor Sierra.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Alrighty, moving on to council member comments/items. Councilmember King, any comments/items?
Not at this time, except that next week we're going to the league down in Long Beach.
Annual convention.
I'm good.
Okay, John?
I had a committee meeting for the first Arts and Culture Committee meeting, and I'd just like to say it went very well, I thought, and I was impressed with the participation. And I'll let Kyle take over what we talked about, but I feel good about the whole thing. The participation, the people that showed up had a lot of expertise, and it was nice from all over, even Lompoc San Ynez solving, and so it was kind of
plethora, huh?
It was nice. It was,
Vice Mayor, any comments or
Yes, ma'am.
items?
Talking about feeling good items, it's a pleasure to drive on the avenue in the dark hours. We have 8 flagpoles illuminated through the night, and we owe all of that to the dedication and hard work of Mr. Sanchez. And I'd like to give him more than a proclamation, but I can't do that. Maybe write him a check for a trip or something. Get him a ladder.
Send him to a convention in Long
yeah,
Beach.
let's go to Long Beach.
Those flags are up 50 feet, so maybe we could get him a 50-foot ladder so he can go up and fix it if they...
Clean the bird.
Ah, there you go. That's,
Would you do
that's,
that?
I would,
I would support a ladder if you wanted to do that.
as I say, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
But you really have gone above and beyond, and a handful of people have tried to stay up with you on it, and we all fell out after about 7-8 days. And it's been at least 100 days since you started it, so thank you.
you did good. Okay. Let's see. City manager and I went to a cannabis farm on Monday. That
Did
was
we ever?
very, very interesting. And then he followed up with a wonderful cannabis forum last night. Thank you for attending, Vice Mayor.
You're welcome.
We had about
You led
50
well.
people show up, so it was, it was very interesting for me. I was able to get a ride yesterday with our Visitors Bureau down to Santa Barbara for the Visit Santa Barbara meeting, and they predict our hotel rooms are going to go up about 1% next year. Hold steady, maybe a little bit better. This Saturday, we've got a lot of stuff. We got our firefighters pancake breakfast over at Albertson Shopping Center, and Deuces at Zaca Creek Golf Course. What time does that one start, Ed?
I think 10 o'clock, 10 to 2, I believe.
10 to
But
2.
they're
So
expecting
don't sleep in on
130
Saturday. Get up,
cars.
get over, support our fire department, and then go look at all these cool cars over at our golf course. So
A lot of work done by the
a lot of help
the
with
sponsors of it.
A lot of help with the chamber, too, I understand. Okay, committee reports. You had your arts and culture.
Yes, that was my report.
That was good. Any other reports? I had a North County CAG meeting, and the highlight of our meeting was that they're looking to take call boxes out on the highways. Nowadays, they don't need as many call boxes, so go figure.
Garage sale.
Moving on to business items. Agenda item number 5, discussion and direction regarding Dia de los Muertos Day, Day of the Dead project proposal, Arts and Culture Committee. Mr. Abello.
Madam Mayor and honorable council members, at your regular meeting of August 8th, the council approved the formation of the Buellton Arts and Culture Committee, along with the description and scope, which is your attachment 1 in your packet. The basic purpose of the committee is to enhance the quality of life and develop a sense of cohesiveness and community pride in Buellton by bringing artistic and cultural experiences to the community. The council also approved a budget amendment at that time to allocate $50,000 for each of the next 2 fiscal years to fund arts and culture projects. After a very positive community response after the Arts and Culture Committee was formed and had been advertised, the first meeting was held October 1st, as Councilmember Sanchez noted. 12 volunteers from across the Greater Valley area came together to begin laying the foundation for a successful venture. It will include a lot of structural and policy pieces to be able to have a solid and standardized criteria, so that for the long run, this committee will be able to vet and those project proposals that come forward and give good recommendations to the council. The committee also reviewed its first project proposal at that October 1st meeting, the Dia de los Muertos Day of the Dead Community Altar Project. It consists of a series of 3 Saturday workshops and 2 evening celebrations surrounding art making, storytelling, and other cultural aspects of the Day of the Dead holiday. The full detailed description of the project is included as attachment 2. The lead artist, Stacy Thompson, is here with us this evening. If you have any questions specifically about the project or the artwork that is proposed. The venue for the workshops and the community altars will be at the Botanic Garden, and they would be co-hosting this event. They would be also the fiscal umbrella if the council approves the request for $2,500. So they would make sure that the funds, which would be covering art supplies, materials, advertising, promotion, and honoraria for the various artists and presenters. And any unspent funds would be required to be returned to the city. And additionally, the committee had asked that Ms. Thompson return at a future city council meeting. The November 14th, I believe, is the date that she is available to provide a post-event report to the council on how the event went, how the turnout was, and hopefully provide some photos and other examples of people experiencing this cultural and artistic event. So the committee did discuss this project at length and agreed by consensus to recommend approval to the city council. The fiscal impact, again, is $2,500 from the general fund. The current fiscal year includes $50,000 budgeted for the Arts and Culture Committee projects. And with that, stand open for any questions from the council.
Any questions? I had a couple. It looks like it's 3 days. There's the 3 workshops where you create the displays, the artwork, and then 2 days where they're presented down at Botanic Gardens.
Correct. So three Saturday daytime workshops, and then 2 evening events.
Presentations.
Yes.
And who's involved in the workshops?
Well, I will turn that over to Ms. Thompson. She also has some photographs of what we have currently there, which is also the Botanic Gardens scarecrow entry.
'Tis the season.
It is, but it does fit the theme of the Dia de los Muertos. So if Stacy, you'd like to answer a little bit about who's going to be involved in the workshop.
Hi. What you're receiving right now is a flyer of the workshops, and you'll see that it's a lot of presenters about dealing in various ways with grief. And so that's kind of a piece leading up to the altar celebration on November 1st and 2nd. We're learning a lot of different ways of coping with grief, different ways of dealing with children and grief, and also the art and making of the altar. So there's about 8 people right now who would like to participate in presenting at the workshops, and it would be yoga and dance and meditation, and it's pretty exciting how many people would like to be involved. So
Wonderful. Are there children involved in it, or is it?
There are actually schools and arts outreach classes that would like to make art for the altar. Everyone is welcome. Yes, absolutely.
In fact, just today I was meeting with our principal here in Buellton, Hans Reinschild, and the school's DLAC committee, English Language Learners, is interested in partnering with the project if it's approved for the schools committee. So the school really wants to be involved with this.
Any other questions from council? Anybody from the audience want to get up and speak? Thank you, Kyle.
I had a question, Kyle. Are we going to have any kind of like booths or food,
I understand there will be refreshments.
Food trucks or anything like that?
I don't think food trucks, but refreshments of some kind for the evening events.
So, I talked to somebody and they said people bring their food and they leave at the altar, but they also consume and
I think most of the food would be consumed there. I don't think that the garden wants us to leave any food out.
Okay.
But that is part of the tradition in the cemeteries and in the homes that food is left on the altars.
The raccoons would like it.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
I had a request for consideration on where we're at with this project. We're talking about, we've earmarked $50,000 2 times. That's $100,000. It's way more than a lot of our community volunteers and programs get. But I'm trying to figure out how we can be diligent and frugal with the $100,000. And I'm reminded of we have another, this likens me to an organization. We have the San Ynez Valley Airport Authority. A beautiful facility. The airport was an ugly stepchild for the county probably 30 years ago, and they agreed to let a group of people take it over. The pilots said, let us do this, and they would come up with their own bylaws. They've come up with a group of 9. Supervisors were very concerned that the members have some attachment to the valley, so that we wouldn't constantly have, well, who's that? Well, we don't know. They come and they go, and we don't know who it is. They've recently just had their annual meeting. I think they've got a good membership going. I think they're close to 200 members. But one of the things that struck me on the airport was they had picked 9 as the number. And Supervisor Bill Wallace was very adamant. He said, I want to be sure that we have a majority of investors in this committee so that we don't wind up, that's how the county wound up having a huge pool of gasoline underneath the airport that no one wanted to worry with because it was very expensive. It was probably a $500,000 cleanup, and fortunately none of the explosives occurred. So I'm asking that we consider having a balance or a not to be under or not to go over amount of members. I don't know where the 12 came out. Is it just that 12 folks showed up? Okay, and that may be a good number. When I tried to use the equation of the 5 to 4, which is what the airport authority has, and just going out and talking to someone at the airport, they've got a lot of pride in it. They operate that thing with just like John did with the flags. They're always maintained. The airport is well respected, and pilots use it. But I would ask that we look at how the membership would be set up so we're not standing here with we're holding our bag, and just 2 years down the road someone's going, well, who do we see? Well, they left, they've sold their house, they're gone. And I would like us to be a little more respectful with Buellton's cash.
If the city council would like to go in that direction, that's fine. I don't believe that's on the agenda for discussion and action this evening.
I understand.
So if the council wants to make that direction, we'll be happy to bring it back at a future meeting.
And I believe it may be not quite the same analogy, because really the 5 decision makers on funding are sitting right here.
Okay.
So there's really no concrete action that committee members, because they're volunteers, it's not a Brown Act committee or an advisory board. So it's.
I would like to see some people. I think you have people that would be willing to be respectful and take ownership of that responsibility. Primarily residents of Buellton.
Well, you do want council to approve these ideas, and this is a
Absolutely.
wonderful idea. I think this is a wonderful
I
first
agree.
step.
I just don't want it to get approved and say, well, you should have brought that up before we approved it. I think this would be the opportune time to...
Well, this group is just starting, and we've got John as an ad hoc member, and Kyle is
Make a comment.
responsible. Please.
We have, it's just a group of people that are here to help to contribute to the community. There's no skin in the game. We all, from what I gathered, everybody just enjoys art, or they have something pleasant to contribute, and they give them their time. So
I understand.
but we're the board, and so that's why they ask if they come up with something that we don't like, we can just say, thank you. This was we went over, and I would approve it because it's my first time, and we're still new. We're all fresh to it, and we're learning as we go. and we kind of, this will be a pilot deal, and then, again, we're going to have a report afterwards, and we'll know what happened and what a success it was, or what went wrong. Well, we're all in the, as a group, we're going to take care of it,
This
but
may become an annual event.
it may become a big annual event. I've talked to some people that are just crazy. Yeah, we're all, we're all going to come. That sounds great, and that's only a couple people that I know. And it's possible it could become a very big event. We just have to, we'll work on it together with Kyle and Scott to make sure that we have the, have them covered.
I want to say that I'm in support of the 2,500. I don't have a problem with that.
Yep.
But I think we've just set something out and we don't have any.
That's
Parameters.
exactly kind of the way it is, because we're just learning, and we'll work together.
And that's the reason
And we're
I
gonna,
asked
I think as a group, we're gonna try to make it the best.
Perhaps we can
So,
So which one of
revisit
you made the
areas of
motion?
I don't think there was a motion yet.
No, I just asked that we.
Oh, I'm sorry, Peggy. I forgot to go to the audience.
Madam Mayor, if I
Sorry.
could, and just address, and that's why I insisted that all funding be approved by this council.
Right.
And so any project that comes up, and I kind of was along the same line as you were at in the beginning, but with that caveat is that it could be people from Long Beach coming up here to this and come up with a project. We have to approve the funding. So that's what I think is the reason,
And
in
how
my
much?
mind anyways, why I put that in there.
And these are all fairly local people. I appreciate that we had 12 people interested.
I do too.
and I think we'll get more. As people hear about it, I believe we're gonna have an open, people that are
Ms.
coming.
Brierton.
Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to speak, obviously, on my support of this event. And when I spoke in support of creating the committee, I said it's going to be a while before we get something to come, and that would be, one of the issues was membership on the committee would be discussed at some point, I felt. But, and other critical things for Foundation. This project is so well thought out. It's the type of quality project. It involves arts and culture. I mean, this is an amazing thing. And now the schools, really want to get involved. I'm so happy to hear about that tonight. So I think it's just something that we're very, very fortunate to have this option to be able to help them and really create something that's special. And thank you.
Thank you.
No, I just think we have the right people doing it. We have Kyle, who's tremendous. We already have John as our ad hoc member from representing the board. I think we have enough safeguards here. We're going to approve it one way or the other. So I think it's a good project.
Don't object to the project at all. I
So we
support it.
just need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Recommendation.
Second? All righty.
That's okay.
Okay, Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to coming down and seeing what's going on.
So anybody can put that on their Saturday schedule now?
We've got the calendar right here now. Will this be done down at the Botanic Garden then? Wonderful.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 6.
Good job.
Annual report from the Buellton Visitors Bureau for the period July 2018 through June 29. Ms. Zamora.
Madam Mayor, City Council members, tonight we have Kathy Vreeland with the Buellton Visitors Bureau. She will be presenting the annual report for the period July 2018 through June 2019 as required by the city's contract. If you have any questions prior to Kathy's presentation, I can answer them at this time, or else I'll let Kathy do her presentation.
Any questions? It's all yours.
Thank you. Okay, I can remember that. And I have some goodies here that I'll hand up right now. These are just some of the materials that we've done this year, maps and publication for our main streets. And good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Before I start,
Also, real quick, don't forget Scarecrow Fest. I'm going to leave these out there. Those are your ballots and your maps, so make sure you take one before you leave tonight and check them out. Go around town. There's about 20 of them in Buellton, so we've got some really good contenders. I hope we bring that Harvest Cup back this year. Those can just, the public or whoever wants, and we have lots more of those to share as well.
Okay.
Can we stuff the ballot box?
Yeah, no stuffing the ballot box. So before I begin, I just want to introduce some of my team that's with us tonight. They're sitting here in the front row with me. And I appreciate all of their hard work and their time of travel to be here tonight with us as well. With me, I have Megan DeChico with Solutions on Second. And I have Michelle Rodriguez with 360 View PR. She's over here. And then also in the middle is Charlie Littlejohn with Madden Media. And these are some of our marketing and public relations contracts that we work with, and they work closely with our team and doing all the promotion that we've been able to do this year. And we've had a really busy, successful year that I'm excited to share with you. And also the presentation is in your packet, I realize as well. So just moving forward, I'll get through some of these first pages real quickly. It just kind of goes over the history of the Visitors Bureau and our contract with the city and the operations that we do on behalf of the city of Buellton to market the tourism. We did started out with a budget of $400,000. We were granted an additional $50,000 last year as well, if you recall, that we've been able to put towards our marketing efforts. Moving forward, just the overview, this kind of goes over just that we're continuing to promote Buellton and get heads in beds is our saying, if you will, in the tourism industry. We want to make sure that we're increasing that TOT for the city and putting money in the general fund and also sharing Buellton with the world out there. So that's our job. And we've had a great year of doing that. And we continue again to work with the partners that I've introduced to you to make all of this happen. Some of the big things that we've done, some milestones this year, of course, we rebranded. I think most of you were there when we went through this process and launched it back in July, I believe it was now, last year. And so we rebranded. We used to be the Eat, Stay, Play, and it was kind of generic. And so we went ahead and gathered a group of tourism industry professionals here in Buellton, and we created a marketing council with that and worked closely with them and gleaned ideas from them and had a lot of good conversations around the table and to come up with a new logo, a new look, a new brand, a new tagline. And so this is just some of the images here were part of our launch that we did last July and rolled out our Discover Buellton Small Town Big Adventure, and then our hashtag we went with is Skip the Big Cities, which has been a hit. Really kind of fun to put that out there, and we have a lot of people using that as well in their postings. So this was just something we did. We rolled it out at Parks Plaza Theater, kind of in a fun way. We had glow-in-the-dark glasses and went through our presentation and our branding up on the big screen. So that's just a little look of what we did. And oops, let me back up. And so anyhow, that was kind of fun. This was our big step last year in getting what we bring, and of course with that comes the website development and your marketing materials, as I passed out tonight, some of those pieces. And some of the things on the new website that we've developed, again, it's discoverbuellton.com. If you haven't visited, please do. And some of the thoughtful new features. So we have a trip planner that we had put on the website so people could come in and kind of build their own itinerary and plan their trip. So before they get here, they can kind of go ahead and look and research and do some exploring on our website to get an idea of what they might want to do and maybe how long it might take them to get through those items that they're choosing. We've also incorporated a lot of user-generated content, that's UGC, into our site just to make it more visual. So that is kind of gleaning, when people are here visiting, we're using their content. So we're not out there always getting all of these pieces ourselves. We can glean this from our people who are here having that experience for themselves, whether it's through Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. So we're able to glean those images and utilize those for visual concepts on our website as well, so other people can kind of get engaged and influenced by what they're seeing other people experience here as well. So that was a great addition to our site, and also enhanced our sorting and preferences. We also built a nice media and group events section on our site so that people are planning weddings or events have an area to go to. They can find out what vendors in the area can help them, whether it's with location or winery or venue, photography, catering, any of those. That information is found there. And then also, we've added an itinerary and a blog trip inspiration piece on there. So those are just some of the nice tools that we've been able to, and the features of our new site that really enhance that visitor experience when they're visiting our site and trying to find out what there is to do and see. We kind of hand it to them and help them with all of that by providing these tools for them. So really try to inspire and engage our visitor to make sure that they book and want to come here and make it look exciting and new. So this goes into our budget, the next sheet here, so it shows you our income for the year was $450,000. And then on the right side there, I break down the expenses. So in our budget, we had 4 different areas, if you will: operations of the Visitors Bureau, the grants and specific projects that we do, economic development, and also the promotional and advertising piece. So you can see the majority of our spending is in the marketing and advertising, which that's what we're hired to do for the city. So we're happy to continue that. Over 65% of the budget was used for the promotion and advertising of the city of Buellton. So that breaks it down. The comparison of TOT to the Visitors Bureau allocation, this just kind of looks at what the city collected for the fiscal year in TOT, and then what portion of that we received to do the marketing. So that's just kind of giving you a little pie chart there. We have about 14% of the city's TOT budget that we use to market City of Buellton. I'm super excited. The $3 million mark, that's the highest we've ever received in TOT for the City of Buellton. So congratulations to everybody, because it takes the whole community, but we have never reached $3 million. So that was really exciting to see that roll this year to that big number, and really proud of all of our efforts. And again, the team that's here with me, I couldn't do it without them and their expertise in their area as well. So super exciting, and excited for Buellton as well, because that's just helping our community out and all the residents that can be put back into our community here and the infrastructure and the nonprofits and whatnot. So the better we do, the better you can do for the community and nonprofits as well. And so sponsors, so people do come to us to ask for sponsorships, as people come to you and ask for money. And so we do allocate a certain amount of our budget to sponsorships and whatnot. If an event comes through or an organization or something, our goal, our biggest thing behind that is we want to look for overnight stays. If it's something that's going to create overnight stays for us, we're willing to look at that and assess it, and the board then does a vote or an assessment on that to see if it's going to draw overnight stays. So that's our main thing in these events that we've been able to contribute to. They do all bring overnight stays to Buellton, which is, that's what we're here for. We're to put heads in beds, and so we feel it's important to give to those if they ask us that are going to then create those night stays for us. So these are a list of some of the things that we were able to donate to that, again, they contribute to our economy as well in the way of overnight stays, and of course they're buying gas and eating out and whatnot too. So there's additional income in that regard as well. This is some of our visitor traffic. So we do track people who come into the visitor center, whether they're a walk-in or a phone call, some of the mailings that we do. You'll notice a little bit cut back on the mailings, and the main reason is that we had, and further on in the presentation I'll get to that too, but we've cut back on some of our print and went more digital, of course, this year. And so one of the print pieces we used to do was Yosemite Journal, and they would then kind of give back names and addresses that you could then mail out to. So we just don't know that it's hard to track something like that, to know if those people we mail to are then coming and making reservations. So we've cut back on our mailing quite a bit, and more of it's done with digital now. We do have an email list that's growing, so we can communicate with our visitors now via email when they join our newsletter list in that regard. So anyhow, these are some of the context. Also, the visitor bags at the bottom, these are hotels or lodging establishments, the campground that call out to us, whether it's family reunions, wedding groups, RV clubs. They might call on us to create a welcome bag for them, so we put welcome bags together for them with maps and brochures, and we kind of ask them what they might like to see for their guests in the bag. If they want certain pieces, we can go ahead and include those for our visitors. So we make up the bags. They either come pick them up from us or we drop them off at the hotel so they're ready when their guests arrive. So those are some of the bags that we've been able to assemble this year as well. This is just a quick glimpse into some of our website traffic, and so you kind of get an idea of who around the world is looking at us and who within the United States is kind of taking a look at our site and who's viewing our website. So these are kind of fun analytics. We kind of keep an eye on these so we know who to reach out to and where to direct our marketing as well. So international level, you'll see, of course, the United States is our number one. But again, it's Canada. They're usually high up in there too because they're a neighboring country, and we get a lot of drive traffic from Canada. But also India is rising up. Thailand, Mexico, UK is always on there. Brazil, Philippines, China is moving down a little bit, and then Australia. So some of those we drop off some years and some come on. There's a couple new ones on there, so it's kind of interesting to always see who's looking. Again, and Holly, you were with us yesterday when the state of California kind of talked about how that happens, and so she had a big funnel, if you will, a big upside down triangle on her display, and basically you start out with the United States Travel Association, and then it goes to your Visit California Travel Association, and then it might go to Santa Barbara, and then it might come down to Buellton. So it's really, that's how you funnel people in, right? So if they're in China or India or wherever wanting to vacation, we've got a lot of competition out there. How do you get them to Little Buellton? So they have to begin, I want to go to America, I want to go to the United States. Well, they start there. And then from there, do they want to go to Florida, Texas, Vegas, California, hopefully California. So they're kind of drilling down in that pie a little bit more. And then when they get to there, then we kind of break it out. It might be a Central Coast region, it might be Santa Barbara region, and then we continue to drill down into Buellton. So when we're looking at international markets and marketing to that area, I do a lot of that with Central Coast Tourism Council because we can branch out so much further. We can cast a wider net when we're doing that together with them than just me as Buellton going out there. So we do work with partners when it comes to international marketing, just because we can cast a wider net and hopefully capture that. But we do look to those up above us to know who are they marketing to so that we can maybe ride some of that wave of money that they're spending and pull it down even further. So just to explain kind of how that works, because it's a big world out there and there's a lot of competition. And then in the States, we see a lot of our neighboring states here as well, and also the East and Midwest is kind of coming in. So we're looking this upcoming year to maybe do some work in Illinois. We see them rising up quite a bit in Chicago and Illinois area. So we might try to do some PR work back there to get some of those people to come out and learn about us. And then those are some of the states within the United States that are looking at California. What's that?
Kansas?
Kansas? I know, right?
You ever driven across Kansas?
What's wrong with Kansas?
It's kind of fun to see who's clicking in. But hey, Buellton's making the movie, the documentary Psalm 3, we really saw Chicago hitting a lot after that came out. So I think there's something to do with that and just a wine country that's really drawing people here. So it's going to be interesting to watch. So who are the visitors? Who's clicking? Who's coming into our site? So here it shows you over 50% are the females. They're the kind of the influencers when it comes to decision making in the household, it seems like. So I guess what's the saying? If mom's not happy, no one's happy. So she's doing all the planning. And then again, the age group, which this is really awesome because we can speak to so many. We're not really heavy in one demographic or the other. So we really have an attractive audience here as far as wide ranging that we can really cater to multiple ages, whether it's millennials or seniors or whatnot. So we're happy with that. I mean, that's really good for us because it shows that we can have a really diverse audience here. So it's not that they're aging out and then we're not going to be left with anybody here. So we've got a wide range of visitors coming, which is great, and wide age group. These are some of our social media numbers, and they continue to climb. We try to look for those organic hits. And so Facebook, again, we have over 2,500 followers. Twitter, about 1,000, and about 2,700 on Instagram. On Facebook, this is where we kind of share our content and stories over this platform. So a little bit longer stories involved in Facebook, more interactive. We look for the shares, we look for the likes and comments there, and we're able to interact with the visitors. And then on Twitter, we kind of carry over from Facebook onto Twitter, so it's just kind of a feed over. But that's also a nice spot for us to engage with our travel media on the Twitter platform, because a lot of those will come here and they do use Twitter in their engagements and posting, so we're able to keep that conversation going on that platform with our travel media who visit. And then also Instagram, we've redesigned the page. It's more appealing to the eye. If you have Instagram or follow Instagram, you can check us out there. It's at Buellton CA. And Megan helps us with that, and she does a dynamic job of really creating a really nice storyboard, if you will, out of imagery on Instagram. So it's just more customized, and it's she's got some great information there for us. So check us out on social media. Those are all of our handles and whatnot, so make sure you follow us. So then we get into our digital marketing programs, and this is where we've worked with Madden Media, who's here. And again, if we have any questions as we go through, I can try to help. If I can't, I've got the partners that can help as well. So with the design and the creation of a new website, it takes a lot of marketing to get that out there and to get it rising to the top on Google searches. As you can imagine, there's a lot of competition out there. So it takes various modes and means and ways that we have to market that new site to get it when people are popping in Buellton or Buellton, California, what's to do in Buellton. We want Discover Buellton to rise to the top. So we work with Madden very closely for our search engine marketing, and you can see we've had quite a few visitors clicking through. They've helped us optimize the site, and what else do I have here? You can see there the visitor clicks, also the click-through rate. This is important to us too. It's not just all the eyeballs seeing it, but we want people to actually interact and click and go into it. So when we're displaying these ads and putting it out in front of our visitors out there, we want them to actually take action and do something with that. So that continues to work for us as well. The top performing ad groups you can see were the visit. Of course, our trip planner was really popular with people as well, and also the wine. People are looking for wine in our area. So those are some of the reasons people are coming to our site. And then here we have our Google Display Network. So these are some samples here. This allows us to really put our message in front of our target market. So when you're out there, Google knows everything we do, and they follow us, and they know what we click on, what we like, what we eat, and what time we're on the internet. I mean, they know everything. So with this, we're able to then display or deliver, if you will, our ads to them. So when you're scrolling through, I'm sure any of your social media, you'll get ads. You might have just been looking at something online and all of a sudden an ad pops up to you. So we're doing that same thing with Buellton and popping up ads in front of those people who are maybe looking for wine country adventure or romantic getaway or a glamping adventure or something. So whenever they're looking for things, we're able to display and put these ads up in front of them. And so we've had a great impressions on these. We've had a great average click-through rate is 25%, and the industry goal is 10%. So we've doubled that with our display ads. And let's see, we've used Google AdWords, also the display ads that I'm telling you that I show you here. So it's just a way to get us in front of the customers. We're kind of in the right place at the right time with those ads when we do that. So that's a really key factor when we're trying to speak to the audience and get them to interact with Buellton. This is another way we're able to drive traffic to our new site. This is through storytelling. Again, Madden Media assists with this installation, if you will. They've come up with stories. We've had a couple of stories that went out there. One was a wine getaway. The other was a romantic getaway. Or I should say wine and movies, I think it pertained to. Anyhow, they've got the wine and movie one I know was extremely popular. The numbers were going crazy. We were watching it daily, just go up and up and up. The interaction with that story was amazing. So basically the feeling here, or the idea here is to have a writer, basically if they were a tourist here in Buellton, write about their experience. So they write a story as if they were to visit Buellton. We work closely with them on all the amenities, maybe where they stayed, what they saw, what they did, what kind of wine they had, where they went to dinner. And they write a wonderful story about their experience here in Buellton, and we push that out. And this also lives on our website as well. So it's just a themed story specifically to our area about, it could be a family, it could be a couple. Coming up in this year, we're working on a family getaway, which is really fun. These were more to do with maybe adults with a romantic getaway and a wine and movie getaway. But it provides more clicks to our site, it brings more traffic to our website, and more interaction. So people are spending a longer amount of time on our site, which is nice when they're reading the story. So it's been engaging. The average time spent on the page was 30% longer than a site average, which is awesome. So it's just getting, again, that interaction, that engagement, and those people to come and spend time on our site. Not only read the story, but then click through and look and see, maybe, hey, I want to plan a trip. Where can I stay? Where can I eat? What else can I do there? And then 90% new website visitors were through amplified storytelling. So that's huge. We generated a lot of traffic to our site through these storytelling. These were just some of the campaign highlights overall, just going over the engaged visitors that came to our site, the branded impressions, that's kind of eyeballs. How many impressions did we have seeing our information? It was over 15 million, almost 16 million. And the 90% sessions, again, were new users to seeing our website. So that was some great numbers out of that campaign. We're really excited with those, the success rate there. And then our audience highlights, we do go into the audience growth via Facebook, and how, this is just where these were served and who our traffic was looking and how that improved, whether it's with the reach that we were able to reach with our stories, and then also the impressions with the stories and the ads that we delivered. So again, you can see everything going up in all areas, which was great. The website traffic, our goal was 38,000 unique visitors. We actually made it to 46,908 unique visitors, which we were really proud of. The work and that's again, all of those display ads that we did, all the storytelling that we put out there, just getting more eyeballs, more clicks, and more traction. So all of this is, I know it's a bunch of numbers and percentages I'm throwing out there, but it's working, and we're really proud of the attraction that we've been able to get. So, and let's see, I think, oh yeah, whoops, I keep dropping that pen. Next we'll go into some of our trade shows that we did. This is the Los Angeles Travel and Adventure Show. LA is still a big market for us. We're a drive market for them, but they do come and spend the night. So we find this show to still be very beneficial for us. We gather a lot of emails through this show, so we're building our audience that we can talk to via digital and email platforms. So, and then also again, we were rebranded this year, so it was all of our new branding in our booth that we did, and it just proves to be a great show. It's very well attended, well run. They have a great audience that they bring in. They do have some media that they bring in as well, so we can meet with some media there too. In addition to the consumer. So it is a consumer show where people pay to come in. Anybody, it's open to anybody, and they can come in and there's places from all over the world, Thailand, Japan, they're all from all over the world, Safari, and there's all of our Central Coast partners. So you can really, if you're looking to vacation or plan a trip yourself, I suggest hitting one of these shows. They're really well attended, and you can gather a ton of information. But as you can see, we wear our bright orange. That's Jody and I in the bottom right corner, and we stand out like sore thumbs, but we still do. I don't know that orange is our color, but we wear it. But I tell you, if one of us takes a lunch break or a bathroom break or something, and you come back, you just see that orange sweatshirt for miles, right? I mean, it totally stands out. So it does work. People love it. They come up to us all the time and say, you guys are so well branded. Your booth is so cohesive. Because some people just show up in their jeans and shirt and whatever, work their booth and hand out whatever. But we're really, really engaging with them. We want them to know what we're about here. We want them to come and see us. So we're pushing. We're selling the whole time we're there, talking up our area. We have our maps and our swag, and we gave away our reusable straws that you all got the State of the City, and those were a huge hit. I think we got the best swag at the show. Somebody posted later on one of their social media posts, which was kind of fun. But anyhow, again, that's the LA Trade Show. Great attendance, over 37,000, almost 38. Again, your women, your men range, the household income is up. They have a lot of tourism industry professionals there talking, like Samantha Brown and other people talking about travel and safety and how to pack and all different things. So there's different classes and seminars going on as well during the show. So it's very family-oriented, interactive, and for us, it proves to be very successful. So we'll continue to do this because it is very much within our market. And this was interesting. This was called Chroma. This was a partnership that we did, a co-op, I should say, with Santa Barbara County partners. So there was us, Santa Maria, Goleta, Santa Ynez, Solvang, and Santa Barbara. So what we did, and Santa Barbara really was the driving factor on this, and then they reached out to all of us to really try to bring our county together because it's such a big county and diverse county. People don't understand. When people are traveling, you don't know where the boundaries start or the borders and whatnot, right? You just know you're driving up the 101. You don't know where you are necessarily in what county. So for us, it was educational to get out there and say, this is Santa Barbara County, right? From Santa Maria down to South Coast Santa Barbara. So what we did is we actually went down into Glendale at the Americana at Brand. This is a Caruso project. It's a beautiful outdoor mall. They had an empty storefront there that we took over and actually built out an Instagrammable pop-up experience, if you will. So when people walked in, they could take their pictures and Instagram and use the hashtags and whatnot, and it was all about interaction and experience and getting our word out there and hashtags in the Instagrammable world. So Santa Barbara had an area, Goleta had the lemon area, Santa Maria had Beware, like a barbecue, and then the Valley, we partnered with Santa Ynez and Solvang. We were Be Expressive. We had a wall of like wine glasses and Adirondack chairs and whatnot, so it was very kind of comfortable setting. So people could come in, take their pictures. We also did a trip giveaway that would take them on we all had partners from our own communities, whether it be a hotel stay or dinners. We put this huge package together so that they could enter a drawing and then they would win a trip through the county if they won. So these are just some of the numbers that were put together through there. It was called Chroma SB. But we had a lot of great interaction, a lot of good visitation in the storefront. People didn't really know what it was about. They thought it was some new store that opened. They're like, oh, what are you selling? It's like, hey, we're selling our area. Come on in and take some pictures. So anyhow, it was really fun, interactive. It was a great way to have the county work together to really showcase who we are and what we all have. So that was yep, okay. That was something we did. The IPW, again, this is the international trade show that I partner with Solvang and Buellton. Solvang and Santa Ynez, Visit Santa Ynez on. And this year we actually invited 3 hoteliers as well. So we had the Marriott came from Buellton. We had Hotel Cork, and we had the Alisal Guest Ranch. So they had salespeople from their area come as well. So there were all of us in the booth. We had a double-wide booth this year because the program was in Anaheim. The show was in Anaheim. It was so close. We wanted to really make a big statement there, which Santa Ynez and we partnered with them, but they carried the majority of it. The booth was Visit the Santa Ynez Valley, and then we had our towns represented there as well, and this is some pictures of the booth. California actually branded it. They're promoting the road trip California. So normally our Central Coast will make it look like a roadway down the aisle, but California did that for us this year, so we didn't have to like bring yellow duct tape and string it down the aisle. But anyhow, that's kind of how we draw our lines, and then we do a Caltrans job. It's pretty crooked. So anyhow, this was an international show. Again, this was appointment-based only. It's not open to consumers. We're meeting specifically with tour operators and travel agencies from around the world, and it's all appointment-based, so we have to work ahead of time and do our research and see who we want to make appointments with, who we might want to talk to. So when we get there, the people have their booklet, they know who they're meeting with, we know who we're meeting with, and so it's all appointment-based going into the show. Yep.
Was that a 1 day or 2 day?
No, this is a 3-day.
Just for that event?
3-day.
Appointment. The
Yep.
appointment time is 3 days.
It's 3 days. Yeah, we get in, we set up on a Sunday usually. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show. And then we wrap it up.
Sounds successful.
So it was successful. It's a big show. I forget how many thousands of people come. More than 6,200 attendees from 70 countries. So it's, Brand USA kind of puts this all together, but it's where the United States comes out and showcases all of what we have. So you're there with all of your competitors from around the states. But again, we're meeting with the different countries, and this again is where we come into who's California marketing to. Who do we want to reach out and grab grab onto that they're already talking to, because it just makes the most sense that way. So we work with our state agency as well. Again, we are in a Central Coast area, so when people are walking through, they can kind of see our towns, our communities with each other in the Central Coast. So when we're talking, we can say, this is all in the Central Coast. This is all 101 here. So it makes it really nice for us in our location, for our destination to be there. So we work together collaboratively. We share all of the information together, all the contacts and the leads we all share, and are able to reach out to those people as well. This is what we call a FAM tour, familiarization tour. So being so close to Anaheim, and this year having IPW in California, it's not always in the state. Next year it's in, I think, Nevada and Las Vegas. So it's all over the country. Different towns will host this. So this year, with it being in California, there were a lot of FAM tours, if you will. So some went to San Diego, some went to the Sierras, Northern Cal, Southern Cal, Central Coast. So we partnered with Santa Barbara and actually hosted the FAM tour. There were 30 individuals, 15 were travel media, 15 were travel trade. And we worked with the Marriott and Firestone Walker Brewery and also Dorwood Spirits. So they came here, they arrived by a big bus, they get off, I meet them and greet them, and I have bags and goodies and swag for them when they come, and we just really kind of entertain them while they're here. Our partners donated a lot of this. They did a tasting at Dorwood Spirits. They met Jay over there, and he talked all about his spirits. We went over to the Marriott. They toured a room in the hotel, and then we went to the Firestone Walker Brewery. They did a beer tasting as well as having dinner over there is where we ended the evening. But we get a chance to speak to them. Our hoteliers, we invited our hoteliers to come in and set up their information at a table as well, because again, a lot of these are travel trade. They're looking for where can their customers and clients spend the night? Where can they stay on their trip to California? So that's what we're trying to do, is sell our hotels and our destination. So anyhow, this was a really successful FAM tour. We had a great time with them from all over the world. There was India, I think China was in the house. There was, oh my gosh, I forget all the countries that were represented. I think Australia was there. So they were really from all over. Brazil, yep, Brazil was there. So really exciting to talk to these people. And I think we actually got an article out of India from this particular trip, which was neat. So it was great to be a part of. And again, we don't get that opportunity out all the time, but because it was in California, we took advantage of putting them through here. Okay, I'm going to turn this portion over to Michelle Rodriguez with 360 View PR. This is our PR portion, our public relations. If that's okay, you're ready to go? I'm ready to go. And I will turn the page for you to get ready. There you go. And then again, if you have any questions, just give us a holler, or however you feel that works best. Michelle, sorry. And then forward, backward, or I think a little bit on the bottom too. Sorry.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Councilman. So we have been working with Buellton we're going into our third year, correct? And in the past year, we've been able to build, over the course of working with Buellton, build a lot of buzz around the destination. It's a really exciting destination to work with, because one of the biggest trends right now in media, and you'll see a lot of these stories especially popping up, is over-tourism. There are so many places around the world that when you go, you're wall to wall with people. So media are really excited to learn about those destinations they haven't heard about, and what are those interesting off the beaten path places to discover. And we've really been using that to propel the media relations side of Buellton forward. In this past fiscal year, we got 128 pieces of coverage, which totaled 333 million online readership. The stories were shared over 10,000 times on social, print circulation of 356,000, and amongst all the media pitch, 4,560 media pitched, and we did 18 press trips over the course of the year. And then I'll get into a little bit of the tactics of how we accomplished that. And Buellton in the news, here are some of the outlets that featured Buellton in this past year. We had the LA Times, Forbes, Skip, Robb Report, Eater in Los Angeles, NBC, to name a few. And then getting into headlines, best places to travel to this March. Luxury accommodations, head outdoors in creative ways. uniquely Buellton. People love, one of our favorite things of working with journalists with Buellton is so many journalists I meet with. I actually went to IPW with Kathy and I did the media marketplace. And any of the media that I knew had been to California, I would always kind of test them. I said, I bet you anything you've been to Buellton before. And they're like, no, I haven't. I'm like, well, have you been to Solvang? Have you been to San Ynez? And a lot of times they go, yeah. And then I explain, you probably got off the freeway in Buellton. Then I kind of explain what they missed out on, and when we bring them back and they go an industrial way and they really explore Buellton, they're always blown away. And that's how we get these headlines. People come in, they're really excited to see it. And some of the people we brought in, we did a social media influencer press trip in October. We brought 6 high-profile influencers in. They had a combined total reach of 407,000 followers on Instagram. They came, they explored all throughout the town, and they did 20 Instagram posts total, 189 Instagram stories they did over the course of them coming, and in addition to that, they did posts and blog posts on their website. And again, they were all really fascinated. A couple of them fell in that bucket that they actually had been to the town. They're like, I can't believe I didn't stop and see all this. They were really amazed. And then we did a traditional media press trip, then brought journalists in for, print journalists in for the Wine and Chili Festival. And so we partnered with different local businesses and hosted them and showed them around town. We've gotten stories in around Alhambra, Travel Scope, Not Born Yesterday, and Just Lux from that trip. And then in addition to that, some of the other tactics we do is we do one-on-one FaceTime with journalists. It's something my agency does. We went to New York twice this year to meet with journalists and talk to them. And I will say, out of our client roster, we have Yosemite on there. We have some quote-unquote sexy destinations. And when I send emails to journalists saying, these are my clients, I'd love to meet with you and talk to them, they're always like, please tell me about this Buellton place I've never heard of. It's a common line I get at meetings, which is really exciting. And then I also attend IMM, which is Visit California, partners with it, and it's a big trade show in New York to meet with media in addition to the media marketplace. And the momentum has continued into this year. Just this past Sunday, I brought it to show you guys. If you saw the LA Times, there was a big story about Sip and Save in wineries, and the Marriott was featured in it, and there was deals to come into Buellton and visit. So I can pass that around. So, you want to see? And then last but not least, when Kathy was talking about the funnel, it's a very important thing to think of because the New York Times just did a 36 hours in Santa Barbara County story, and we were actually able to capture a whole paragraph in that story, and the journalists came into Industrial Way and went to Industrial Eats and did explore into Buellton. It's a huge county, and they only have so many words to cover the entire county, so we're really proud that we were actually able to capture a whole paragraph of that story. So the momentum keeps going on Buellton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's okay. No worries, thank you. Yeah, Michelle, they have been phenomenal to work with, and some of this is just the outcome of their great work, and some of us hosting the media here, and so we're just excited. We got a lot of good stuff going on in Buellton, which is, it's just great to have recognition and have a name out there now, and we're just really honored to do what we're doing and see such the results that we do. So again, I said we cut back in some of our print advertising, which is true. We narrowed it down quite a bit this year. So Wine Country this month, we actually just did a couple of the issues to start the year that we're continuing, so we ended that really early. The Central Coast map, we continue to have a presence there because that's the only piece they produce for the Central Coast, and that map gets a lot of traffic, and a lot of people pick that up. PCPA Theater Fest, again, just a listing. It's a good neighborly thing to do. It's not that much money, but we feel we should be there for our theater friends. And then Westways, we do a co-op with Solvang and San Ynez Valley here. Usually it's a 2-page spread with the third page being any partners that want to go ahead and put advertising in. So we have a nice spread there that talks about the whole valley, so we partner with them, and that goes in the Discover section of the Westways magazine. And then, of course, the Santa Barbara Visitor Guide, we want to be in our regional guide as well, because I know they have a great distribution. The RV show program, we used to go down to the RV show. I know you've probably heard me talk about that years ago. We no longer attend. Our RV campground is doing phenomenal, but we used to partner with them on that. So now we want to make sure we still have presence in their show guide, because it is one of the best attended RV shows in California. So we continue to run a full-page ad in that guide. And then California Road Trips was another piece we did. It was a co-op with the Central Coast Tourism Council that just kind of is a nice idea of what they can do on the Central Coast in a road trip. And then Geo, it was actually a free ad, but we have a wonderful 2-page spread with a really pretty picture, and it was kind of a newer magazine that we were offered to do a free ad, and we said, sure, we'll be a part of your first magazine. So these are some of the print publications that I just talked about. These are just some of the covers and what they look like. And these are some of our ad layout samples, so depending on what it's going in or what the size of the ad or what the message we want to carry is. So these are just some of the looks and feel of what we did. The top left is the RV show guide, of course, so it's showing a lot of the camping and glamping. The far right top corner is the Santa Barbara magazine, so that's a little more elegant looking. And then the bottom left here, that was all about the road trips, California road trips. So we have the cool Bronco and a winery there. And then the free ad was the one with the gal with the horse in that Geo magazine. It was really kind of an upscale magazine, if you will. So we just wanted something that looked really elegant and kind of simple. So that's what we picked for that one. Then the billboard, McMurray Road billboard, that's the one that we're changing out about 4 times a year. That showcases a lot of our events. It has a welcome to Buellton message usually. So these are just some of the displays that we had. Usually it's, through the summer it's a welcome to Buellton message. Getting into the spring, winter, we have a lot of events that are coming up. Winter, we have the Scarecrow Fest, Winter Fest, and then Restaurant Week in January and February. So those are some of the designs for that. And again, we celebrated, it doesn't seem like it's been that long ago, but it was, we celebrated the 50th anniversary on the Avenue of Flags. So that was a really fun event to put together. I think it came together really nicely. We had Michael Reagan here to talk to the crowd, and you were all there as well. So anyhow, we feel it came out really nice, and it was great to be a part of that and to celebrate that anniversary. I know I'm working with Rose, and we haven't buried the time capsule yet. We're just trying to figure out where that might be. We don't want to put it in and then have the avenues dug up or something, so we'll wait and see when that happens. And then, of course, Winterfest that we continue to do in partner with the Rec Center and Senior Center on the Breakfast with Santa, Winterfest, and the snow. And our snow was a little late to arrive this year, unfortunately, so they're going to give us a little more snow this year in lieu of the time that they lapsed last year, which is good. So, and this year we're actually looking to do it at the new Village Park. So it'll be a new setting for us, so we'll have to figure out all the logistics, but we're looking forward to it. I think it'll work nicely, and it'll be much safer, I think, over there as well. And that's my presentation. So I just want to thank you again for allowing us to market Buellton and do what we can. I want to thank our team because they've really worked super hard this year for all of us and putting Buellton out there and just making it rise to the top in these Google searches. So I couldn't do it without their help, but open to any questions, or our team is here if you have any questions, and just thank you again for allowing us the opportunity.
Council members, any questions?
Just congratulate Kathy and continue doing a good job.
Thank you.
I'm always impressed when I go to, say, Santa Barbara, visit Santa Barbara. Everybody knows you. You have an amazing reputation.
Thank you.
And I know how hard everybody on the team works. It is truly, truly appreciated.
Thank you.
And my problem is now I'm running into people and they say, where are you from? And I say Buellton, and they say, oh, I know where that is. What's happening?
It's a good thing.
It used to be a hidden little hideaway. Now everybody knows where we are.
Great.
So,
well,
thank you.
hopefully our work is working.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, we got one more to go. Agenda item number 7, the discussion and direction regarding proposal for update to community design guidelines. Ms. Kiefer.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm actually going to turn it over to Ms. Irma Tucker here to present the staff report and go through a PowerPoint presentation. And of course, we are both available at the end of the presentation for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kiefer. Madam Mayor and members of the council, this agenda item before you tonight is a follow-up to two prior council meetings where the update to the design guidelines was discussed. And I'll just take a quick break there. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit. And I ordinarily wouldn't do a PowerPoint for this type of agenda, but I think it's going to really help just focus on what we're proposing to do. At the last council meeting on May 9th, it was council discussed going forward potentially with an update to the design guidelines, and the main focus of the update was primarily on the agrarian style, and there were several items that the council desired to see addressed as part of that, and I'll go through that in just a moment a little bit more. But we also needed to consider putting Art Deco and Art Moderne into the design guidelines, as was approved as part of the Avenue Flag specific plan. And at the May meeting, council directed staff to work with the city's contract architect, Ravat Albrecht and Associates, to update the guidelines. So we've met with Ravat's firm and discussed an approach that we thought would be the most cost-effective and easiest to implement. And I just quickly wanted to present some visuals about the scope so you could understand how we are approaching it. So the primary scope of the work effort is to do the following items. Develop a template to resemble the existing format of the 2005 Community Design Guidelines. So this document I'm holding up is what we've been working with since 2005. We don't have an editable format digitally on it. So we basically thought that if we could get our consultant to develop a template that's similar to this, we could just insert pages and update sections as needed and just republish it as an updated version, and then we could keep doing that as we needed to. So it was
Great idea.
the best way to do it. So the items that we need to address in there is to revise the table of contents and the introduction, to basically address the new and amended chapters, and reference the Avenue Flag specific plan. We would revise the agrarian style architectural character. We would put in a new section for Art Deco and Art Moderne. And I'll go through a little bit about this last one, which involves an optional task, which I'll address just in a moment. But this is the table of contents that we would look at updating and adding in the Art Deco section. But that's the format that we're looking to recreate with the template that staff would then be able to edit. This is the introduction. It conveniently has a column for us to add the Avenue Flag specific plan to it, so we'll take advantage of that. We would update the architectural character, design style of agrarian, that's in Chapter 2. The overall update would address the quality and quantity of the allowed building materials. We would define the percentage of board and batten used on new projects and major remodels, provide for higher quality wood siding on new buildings. And we would be updating some of the images and the examples.
I would imagine materials have changed quite a bit since 2005.
They have up to a point, but there was a pretty broad range of materials that were addressed within this document, so that it didn't look like we needed to update all of it. But in particular, the agrarian style was what was discussed by City Council at the last meeting. That was a focus of, we needed to take a closer look at that, and that's what we will be coming back with. So these are the pages that we would look at updating, and yes, I think some of the images could use some updating in here. So, and then the Art Deco, Art Moderne design style, we would be putting in a new section, taking the material that's in this Avenue Flag specific plan We'd create a section out of that following the format of the existing design guidelines for the other architectural styles. So we would address building form, roof form and materials, building and accent materials, windows and doors, just like we have with the other design styles, and then refer the reader to the specific plan for the remaining items. So this one we were looking at is the last chapter in this old design guidelines, or the current design guidelines, and it's illustratives of potential improvements. What it really is there are several before and after examples of what buildings in the community, some buildings that are currently in the community, what they could look like if they were upgraded with these design styles. So there are examples of agrarian, ranch, and contemporary ranch-style buildings. Unfortunately, all of those examples are now within the Avenue flag-specific plan, and they're obsolete because we have a new design that would apply to them. So we thought it would be helpful to take a look at that. The only example that would remain is the post office, because that's outside of the specific plan with the Mission Revival example. So if we just remove the other buildings, we would end up with just one building as an example. So which is why, well, let me just show you before I get to that. So these are the illustratives that are at the back of the design guidelines. That's our post office. And these are the buildings that were shown as examples that are now in the specific plan. This is Parkway Market, Houston's Liquor, and Ellen's Pancake House, and Oliveira's Garage. So those are all now within the specific plan and would require a different design treatment. So one of the optional tasks which staff is looking at is to actually update the before and after sketches in this illustratives chapter. So what we would propose is to look for examples outside of the specific plan area of agrarian ranch and contemporary ranch styles and produce 3 after sketches of those buildings. So we would have something to show the readers and the developers. And we are proposing to modify the existing examples of those buildings within the specific plan area to show how the Art Deco style could be applied to those buildings. And this is an optional task that staff is proposing to City Council consider, but it would be just a nice way to really bring the design guidelines document up to date per our current planning documents.
Question?
Yes.
If we do the optional, are we doing that so that we can see what could be done, or are we going to be going to these businesses and kind of telling them that this is something that they need to really consider doing?
That's a very good question. I'm not certain, because I wasn't here when the 2005 design guidelines were developed, what the engagement was with those property owners, but I think that would be a good conversation for us to have with the property owners. It certainly wouldn't be something that we would require them to do. It would be an illustrative of what could potentially be done with the buildings.
I believe not a person in this room was in here on 2005, so I don't know what.
Were you here?
What? No.
No.
In 2006.
But I think that's a really good question. I personally would appreciate having a conversation about my building before it was included in a document. So.
Oh yeah.
Maybe, it'd be nice maybe if you could gather the minutes or the audio for that, if we would like to come and just in your office and listen to a little bit of it. We don't have to replay it, but
okay.
Because that would be, we might get some new perspective of why it got to be that way, and why would we want to change it at this time. Just a good comparison before we just start redrawing things.
So if I'm understanding what you just said correctly, you'd like us to see if we have audio from the 2005 meeting that actually addressed how these
we do.
examples
Yeah.
got into the
Linda, is that
document.
We still have those?
We still
In the
have them.
attic?
No, actually, they're in the vault.
That's what I
All
thought.
audio is in the vault.
But I think we're holding on to it for some reason. Maybe this would be a good opportunity to consider it.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Irma.
Well, so with that, it's just the summary of the recommendation that's in the staff report for City Council to consider.
Any questions? I'd
no,
open it
nothing
to the
was-
audience, but we have no audience
That won't go
anymore,
with-
unless you have any questions or comments. Okay. Gentlemen?
No, I think we're on the right track. I mean, is there any way we can have, without going and redoing the whole document, everything, like some preliminary things? You know, just have our architect just maybe give us some different styles to take a look at before they spend an inordinate amount of time updating this. I'm sure they have examples of what they're thinking. You know, like some of the pictures that you showed us that were, you know, partial rocks, partial maybe the...
We still want to
pattern.
stick with the agrarian, right? I mean,
No.
we're not changing.
No, we're getting that out. If it's okay. There are no horse ranches.
Mission
in
Revival
Buellton.
Ranch, Contemporary Ranch, those, because we're,
That board can go the way of the dodo as far as I'm concerned.
I know how you feel about that board.
That's what I heard.
That.
So,
So what I'm asking you is there any way we can just have them maybe show us some preliminary styles that we're thinking of upgrading in this before we spend a whole bunch of time and spend a whole bunch of money and go, no, I hate that, don't even bother with that. I mean, you might have 3-4 people here that say, no, don't put that in anything. You understand what I'm asking you? Is that maybe they can
Every
give us
time
some-
we get into this,
I-
that's
I-
how it goes.
So my understanding was, from the last city council meeting and reviewing the minutes, that the primary focus for updating the design guidelines was to update the agrarian section. That it was city council's desire to keep the remaining sections as they were, basically the contemporary ranch, the mission, and the ranch styles, and update the agrarian to address some of those issues.
Right, but I think part of, I recall with that conversation with Andrea, was that maybe there are some mixed kind of use of that. See, you remember,
Well, I think-
remember that conversation?
I think
where it's-
part of the update would be addressing those different materials and the use of the different materials, as Irma mentioned in the staff report, and looking at the percentages of those materials on some of the facades of the buildings and
Right.
things like that. So if I'm understanding you correctly, are you requesting that perhaps Ravat Albrecht and Associates provide some sort of visual example to you?
Correct. Because
as they are working?
your statement was that maybe we could just use like partial, like half the building is rock and the other half is...
Right, you could mix it up.
Correct.
Right.
But it would be us probably more informative to look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, that looks good. Instead of, like
Okay.
Parkway Market looks like a barn. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The whole thing is board and batten.
So perhaps,
So there are some mixes, which is your guys' expertise, which you
Mm-hmm.
guys went to school for. But you know, to just show us a picture, go, okay, this would be a 30%, or this would be a 50%, or you know what I'm saying?
right, so perhaps as part of their work, we can bring, staff can bring it back to you as they progress in their work as part of the contract. We can bring back to council some imagery or some information that you guys can take a look at as they progress throughout
Right,
there.
and I understand the reason why developers want that particular material, because it is substantially cheaper than stucco or rocks. It's $8 a square foot versus $14 to $16 for stucco. So maybe they could, you know, we could make a compromise so that you say, okay, that's aesthetically pleasing, and the developer can save a little bit of money on, you know, a 40-foot run on the side of a building. I understand it costs a lot of money to put in bricks or rock or stucco. So maybe what I'm asking is for some examples
Yeah,
of
I think-
half the building's rock, the other, you know, maybe that.
So
Yeah.
in my discussions with Ravat, too felt that it would be good to look at some examples, and certainly I think it would be appropriate to bring back to council some of the examples that we're looking at before we start writing down the details. So we could bring that as the progress report, and how we're going to actually detail out the agrarian section. And at the same time, should council elect to go forward with the optional task, we could also bring some examples of the direction that we would propose to go with some of those buildings, just preliminarily.
Yes. That's my direction.
Madam Mayor?
I agree with that.
Madam Mayor, in the scope of work on page 100 of your packet, one deliverable is a 50% draft for staff review. Perhaps the council wants to modify that to say that staff will bring that for council review as well, so that to alleviate Councilman King's concern that they get too far down the line, that 50% draft could be brought to you to make sure that they're on the right track.
Excellent
Would that
idea.
meet your needs?
Right, that's what I'm getting at, is so we don't spend a ton of money on,
Something we don't like.
in advance, and then we look at it and go, no, how much did this cost?
One thing I also will point out is that in the project fee section of the contract, they, should the council wish that the architect be present at any of these meetings, that would be an additional cost. It would be a per meet, for them to attend the meeting, it's an additional cost. So not saying that that's necessarily, that the council would need or desire to have the architect here, but if we could, the alternative is we could just bring forward, without the architect here, bring forward their drawings and things like
I
that.
totally trust the two of you to explain to us.
I just wanted to, point that out.
And I appreciate council's advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I really would, if they don't think enough of their work to come and look and hear what we say, I think we're with the wrong group.
Well, it just cost you $800.
I know, that's what I mean.
They've been
We shouldn't have
with the
to,
city for a long time,
Yeah.
this group.
I just want to understand, you're just turning this into an editable document?
Yes.
and
We are-
So that we wouldn't have to carry the book around
I still have that.
anymore?
Well, we are producing a template so that we can insert updated pages without having to recreate an entire document, which is, would be of a substantially higher cost. So,
And a waste of paper.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
No, I think that would be great. And I just preface that because when we were on planning commission, when we had just the bowling alley, we made a lot of changes and we asked, okay, we want to see the template and the views.
Right.
So if we can get some of those type of drawings where versus where it was just wood, then we ask them to add a layer of rock. And so I think those type of drawings, everybody can see and then make it directional. Oh yeah, this is something that we're looking for. I think that's what they're asking for. Copy one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It is what I'm asking
Yeah.
for.
Yep.
yay or
Okay, do you gentlemen want to add the additional optional task to take buildings outside Avenue specific plan and modify them? That would be and they anticipate a total of 6 deliverable sketches within the chapter.
These are properties we don't own, just buildings that we think would look better.
Well,
Something else?
the unfortunate thing is that we don't have redevelopment funds anymore. We could just say, hey, how would you like us to upgrade your building?
Right.
If I might add a little, at least a bit of my insight to this.
food for thought.
The purpose of these exhibits is to illustrate changes that could take place to existing buildings should a particular architectural style take place. I don't believe there's a suggestion that any given building that's shown there would necessarily be changed or would necessarily be changed to that particular architectural style, or even if it were changed to the architectural style, that it would wind up looking like the building that's been portrayed there. The fact that the buildings, that the bulk of the buildings in the document are on the Avenue of Flags, or within the Avenue of Flags specific plan, may be relevant in that people may look at this and decide, oh, we can do this with buildings on the Avenue of Flags specific plan. But I Other than that minor bit of confusion, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of benefit to it. You can pick any building, you can take a photograph of it no matter where it's at. In another city, show an image of an existing building and show how it might be modified to meet a particular architectural style. So if the purpose here is to simply avoid confusion from property owners down the road thinking that, hey, this is my building, I can change it to look like this, then yes, it may be worthwhile to make the changes to the document. If that's not such a big concern, any photograph of any building can be modified to show it in a different architectural style, and those buildings are as good as any others. So that would be my take on it, my 2 cents. Perhaps the planning department has a little different perspective on it, but.
So pass on the
I would pass that. It's just
I agree.
All right.
In the absence of an offer, we shouldn't be accepting anything.
So you've got direction?
Yeah, I also just kind of wanted to sort of close on this and saying that, so it would be $19,300 for the primary and optional tasks should the council decide to move forward with both, or alternatively $16,350 if you chose to not move forward with the optional task and go forward with the rest of the work. And basically, staff would be requesting that up to the $19,300 or alternatively $16,350, the budget be adjusted through the standard quarterly budget adjustment process for that amount.
Yes.
And actually, one more thing, the attachment 1, the contract that you see here would actually, would be, rather than signing this contract as it was prepared by Rivat Albrecht and Associates, the contract would be actually executed on a city form, which would be approved by the city manager and the city attorney.
that makes sense.
There's an idea.
Yes. I like that. That sounds wonderful.
So we need a motion and second, and the motion should include what's up in the recommendation along with whether we're going to do primary scope only or primary plus option.
We'll make a motion to approve the update to community design guidelines with only using the primary scope not to exceed, say 17,000.
And that the 50% would come to council for review before it's completed.
Right.
Second.
Do we need a roll call on it?
Yes, please, because
Okay.
we're gonna wind up reallocating the
Finance.
budget, so
Okay.
let's do it.
Can I just clarify? So you said 17,000, but this says 16.
It's
16,350.
So
Not
that's
to
what I'm
ex-
putting in the minutes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Mercado
Aye.
and Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, staff.
That was easy.
City managers report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Very briefly tonight, as has been mentioned this evening, we had a cannabis forum last night at Honda Middle School. Approximately 50 people showed up. It was a rather good turnout. Despite some obvious emotional tensions within the room, everyone was on their best behavior. The county staff showed up in force and made an excellent presentation presenting the facts. I'd like to thank all of the county staff as well as the county CEO for pulling all that together at relatively the last minute, as well as thanking Nancy Emerson from WeWatch for providing her services as one of our panelists. Our City in the Schools program is set to begin Monday the 21st, I believe, and so we'll keep you posted as to how that's working. The school's very excited to have the city step in and bring the exciting world of local government to our students, our 5th grade students at this point, I believe. And lastly, the City Council's probably aware, and we'd like to get out there to the public. The city's Facebook page is up and running. Shortly after it was put up and running, we had a small brush fire up in the Thumbelina area. We were able to put out information to the residents through that avenue. We'd like everyone who's listening to visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/Buellton City and like and follow that page so that it can become a more, a better used instrument for communicating to the public.
You guys have done a great job. There's photographs going way back when and then painting the poles, and I mean, I was really impressed. It looks like it's been around forever.
Well, I don't know where that's coming from. Somebody's putting it there.
Somebody's
so-
putting it there, yeah. Very nice.
Wonderful.
Who does that, Linda?
No, I don't do the Facebook. I think Kara's doing
Yep,
the new
Ka-
gal in
Kara's,
planning is doing the Facebook page. So-
I'd like to, she also showed up for the Arts and Culture Committee and was helpful in that. So however approved to her coming is, it was nice to have somebody on staff as well as who came.
That's it.